Now that the New York-Tokyo takeover is complete, it's time to head to another part of America to bear witness to some of the best driving you're going to see in this challenge as a whole. Did I mention that I'm the best at being modest as well? Welcome to Laguna Seca, where we're put in the driving seat of an LM spec Ford GT, tasked with tracking down a leading Dodge Viper. We have 3 laps to seal the deal, and we are about 20 seconds behind, with a whole lot of sand, sharp turns and the unforgiving corkscrews to overcome along the way. Over the course of many hours of retry after retry after retry, we figured out what the strategy is for a successful lap, so let me talk you through it. To navigate the Andretti hairpin, we engage full rally mode for a time. The white brake markers on the runoff to the side help with lining this up, so I imagined the rough distance where a 6th marker would be, gauging from the distance of the others. This is roughly where you want to start entering the sand, so we can slide the back end of the GT out. You want the back end to tap the barrier first, so you can avoid accruing a penalty. We also need the tap to occur in such a way that it doesn't completely cancel out the slide, as we need that unstable momentum to bring us in neatly to the inner pit lane road, as that's roughly where the optimal time gain is. If we're still stuck in the sand instead of the inner pit road, it will slow us down a bit too much to get a decent run into turn 3 and beyond. When executed correctly, it'll end up looking something like this. And by direct comparison, it's extremely easy to do this at the start of the race, as our approach velocity is a fair bit lower than that of any following laps. You don't have as much of a run up at the start of the race, as you are at a limited pit sort of speed initially. For laps following the first one, you want to make contact with the barrier a bit earlier and slide for a bit longer, and this is easier said than done. I found it to be far more difficult to consistently achieve on the laps following, so it's no longer really a goal to reach the pit lane curve, but instead to slide to the outer curve at the very least, and somewhat go around the corner as you normally would, but we'll worry about that a bit later. Moving on, turns 3 and 4 are mostly attainable with the car's natural trait of lift-off oversteer, so they're a bit easier on us. But if the approach speed is too high, a little dip in the sand to increase back-end slip is an option that I sometimes used here and there. Turn 5 is another make or break zone for each run, and we have to get this right 3 times in a row. The most optimal line of approach I found was to lift off shortly before marker 4 and coast towards the barrier. Again, you need the back end to tap the barrier first, but you also need the angle to be almost parallel with the wall shortly after marker 3, before lightly initiating a slide heading back towards the inside of the corner. The difficulty in this approach is that any contact with the sand on the inside of turn 5 will completely cancel the slide and send you understeering off track. Touching the curb has a very similar fate with a little bit of leeway here and there. Not that much. Turn 6 is fairly forgiving, but we'll still be dipping the wheels a tad and using a bit of lift-off oversteer to angle the car for a borderline straight cut across whilst maintaining reasonable speed ready for the Rahal straight. And now we approach the bit you've all been waiting for, the strategy to overcome the corkscrew. You may be surprised to hear that this took hours before I realised this strategy here. No, it wasn't that one, as that one doesn't consistently work. It's instead this one. A lot of trial and error and utilising the tools that the game had available led me to this. Initially, I tried to pretty much spear straight through the corkscrew via the sand. This just wasn't consistent enough, especially not to try and achieve 3 times in a row. Just won't happen. So the most optimal approach I found was to initiate a penalty just before the Gran Turismo signboard and tap several barriers along the way until I reached a more palatable speed. This way we can consistently straight line our way through the corkscrew. And I'm sure it goes without saying, but it's extraordinarily easy to make critical mistakes here when taking lines through the sand. Numerous re-entry points from sand to tarmac have sudden changes in elevation that are acting entirely different onto all 4 wheels synchronously, meaning you're now a passenger in your own car and all you can do is watch as the GT is sent to hell and back, furthermore killing yet another run. Turn 9, smooth sailing, nothing crazy required to make it, lift off oversteer, stab at the throttle, blah blah blah, round we go. Turn 10 is a nice cut, taking us fairly straight across the sand. Again, nothing crazy here. But now we've made it to turn 11. Yet another make or break zone. If you remember turn 5, this is fairly similar to that, but with a far finer margin for error. due to the barrier being hella close to the road. We can very easily overshoot our mark here, or end up with a penalty, or worse. Everything can go wrong here. The terrain to the side of the road is also quite bumpy here, meaning we're just not going to be slowing down as effectively as somewhere else. A flatter surface is just better for what we need it for. I didn't find a consistent strategy here, other than send it into the sand on the right hand side, try to initiate a slide at the right time. It just felt like it was random each time, so essentially this is the send it into the sand and pray portion of the track. And if you get it right, it will look something like this. Good luck replicating it 3 times in a row though. After more than 4 hours of repeated attempts, trial and error, and experimentation, it finally led to this run. Here we go. Alright, good start. Cheers, mate. If it's going to give me a penalty, I'll just use the walls then. Sleep well, Fossey. Appreciate the luck. No way we did that. No way we just went around the outside like that. Haven't overtook him like that before. I gotta remember we're coming in quicker because we are able to accelerate for a bit longer. So there we go. Overcame that nicely. Keep it clean. Follow the usual procedure. On the throttle. Gonna catch him just before the corkscrew, so I might use the bump technique. Yep. Don't spin out. Lovely. 7.7. Thank you for no penalty. That was extremely lucky. Very early to catch him. Bringing it in nice and early as well, nice and clean. Now it's chasing down the leader. Nice and clean on the entry there, early on the accelerator. He's within sight. Bring it round. Ooh. No snap oversteer, lovely. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that is Laguna Seca conquered. That's the one. That is the one, ladies and gentlemen. That's how we do it. That is how we do it. To answer your question whether or not that's possible, it is. Oh my word. Okay, yeah, replay time. We're gonna save the replay, we're gonna watch the replay. Oh. Hands are shaking a bit, to be honest. Not as much as usual, but adrenaline's going. You just joined and I finally did it, yep. Look at what we're doing to the car. Yeah. I love that we're learning to drive like this, though. It's all the wrong things. All the wrong things you really shouldn't be doing, but doing it anyway. Yeah, even here. Look at that! Look at that! No contact made with it. We go around the outside with the drift. Regaining traction at almost the perfect time to just spear forward. I was thinking to myself after going around the outside of that Celine that I really had to win. Like that was the deciding factor for me. I really wanted the win after that. Even dodging him to go straight across the corkscrew. There we made contact with that inner wall and somehow didn't get a penalty. Like, the run would have been dead. Man, this was ridiculous. Somehow avoiding contact there. Oh man, that would have been a penalty easily. We were going very quick. And then it was just trying to keep it cool for the rest of this to hunt down the Viper. Easier said than done, because it's really easy to mess up on this corner, but 3 out of 3 entries. Reasonably good. Reasonably good. On the way up here, I was deciding whether I was going to just full send it into him or play it safe. I decided to somewhat play it safe, although we almost messed up there. It's fortunate that I was as slow as I was on the approach, because that normally ends up sending us into the tire wall. Here, I was aiming to actually slide into him side on, but we just missed it. Just a bit too slow. Then here I was terrified because I wasn't sure if it was actually going to send him all the way off, but fortunately it did. Fortunately it did. And there it is. There it is. We didn't break anything. Moving on. Moving on.